Well, hello everyone. Hello everyone. Robert Hollis, and this is Unlimited Wisdom's Daily Wisdom. And today the subject is going to be on peace, peace and calmness. How many of you think? Yeah, I can. I need a double version of that, a double helping. A lot of stuff going on in the world, and so I just want to share with every one of you that again, everything that I share with people and I show people, and it is it's one of those things where first it's got to be awareness, right? And awareness just starts out as you can't change what you don't acknowledge. And so there's a lot of people that I know, self-sabotage themselves with the words out of their mouth. And they'll just be constantly be saying, I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed, this is so complex. It's all these words that they're constantly saying, and they're whipping those words out. And the worst person that hears them is yourself, even if it's a thought. And so, first of all, you got to just admit, and it's easy for me to admit, I'm sure you can, is man, could I use some more peace and calm in my life? Could I really, really, and believe it or not, on a scriptural basis, part of calmness and peace is blessings and favor and being able to trust in a divine order. See, a lot of people all the time, when they look at me and they're like, you confess and talk so much about God and also Jesus Christ being your Lord and Savior. I want you guys to really, truly understand it's because I let go and I let God. See, I always feel like a lot of people might not do this, but I'm constantly saying, hey, here I am. I surrender. I surrender everything. And so when I do that, I've looked at my entire life, me being 63, and was there times that I was uneasy, maybe even desperate? Yeah, absolutely. Were there times when I, got hurt and all of a sudden I have doctors tell me that I'm not going to be a mechanic anymore? Are there thoughts going through my mind once my identity's gone? It's like, what's next? Can I possibly do it? I don't know if I can. You know what I mean? We're always second guessing ourselves. And what you hear about all the time is this concept of being in the present. So if you guys haven't heard this, it's like a whole book and a whole video if you went online on YouTube and put in the present. And the whole concept is the past is the past and the future is the future. To do your very best to live in the present, and present is spelled just like a gift. You know what I mean? That the gift is right here. And a lot of people miss a lot of joy and stuff in their life only because they're either, beating themselves up because of the past. They're not even forgiving themselves, like Ho'oponopono, we talked about that. Is the whole thing is like, what do I got to do to first realize that I'm not in the present, I'm not at peace, I'm not calm, I'm not in my bliss, I'm not rested, I'm just like wound up. Once you admit that you could have more peace and more calmness in your life, then that's when it's easy for you to let go and surrender and just very simply ask for help. Just totally ask for help. And in times in my life when I had no certainty, zero certainty, and I also don't have, any security. So at times in my life where I'm going like, wow, everything's uncertain. I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't even know what's going to happen next week. Then once you understand that, that's when for me is when I realize that, I'm not meant to handle this. I'm not meant to handle this. And I know that some people have probably heard this phrase before, but it's a scripture that basically says, that you won't be giving anything that you can't take care of. So you're never going to get so much on yourselves that you can't handle it. But how many people, believe sometimes that we get quite a bit. It's like, listen, you're not drowning. It's, Terry and I had told you guys we were watching, this reality show called Special Forces, right? And a lot of times people are in a position where they're underwater, you know what I mean? Or they're walking on really high heights. And you can see their minds totally defeat themselves. You know what I mean? And I was telling Terry that I wouldn't have any problem with that at all. And she goes, why? Most people, you can see that they're scared. I said, I know that on live TV, I can see that they have a safety harness. I can see that they have a rope that's tied to a pulley. And I see there's a backup rope tied to another pulley. They don't expect you to win. They don't expect you to win. So if you just did your best and just know that if I fall, I'm going to fall a few feet and then I'm going to have some rope hanging me. and, and I also look at that when, in the Great American Race or whatever they call that. It's like, if there's, I just think that it's pretty interesting that people think they're going to drown when they have two scuba divers next to them. So before you get in the water, you got an ambulance with a couple of paramedics, right? And then you got two guys that are Navy SEALs and scuba diving gear next to you in the water. I'm like, yeah, I don't think the show would last if they're knowing, well, last year we only killed two people. But they used to have that Joe Rogan show called Fear Factor, right? And it's like you sort of mentally in your mind just got to go, how am I going to learn to let go of this? Just let go, let God, surrender all. And in your mind, regardless of what you're going through, I love using this phrase for myself. And I say it out loud. And I just go, this too will pass. This too will pass. This too will pass. Another incredible scripture that I really lean on is I just love the whole concept of lean not on your own understanding. So sometimes where I have difficulty is what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure something out in my own thoughts and heads. Has any one of you ever tried that? And it's like, so now what you're doing is you're trying to put together your next move, your next steps. If this happens, then I'm going to do this. And if this happens, this is going to do this. And what you do is you're just using your imagination in the wrong way. And that imagination or anxiety or fear, false emotion appearing real, just puts you in another one and another one and another one. And so, again, this concept of feeling the anxiety, feeling the fear, feeling the unpeace, being jittery or whatever, anxious, nervous. How many words is there? Do you guys realize how many words there is for this state of unknowing? And so instead of me realizing that it's in a place, and it's weird because have any one of you had any thoughts in your brain that actually made you have an ache in your stomach or an ache in your heart? Think about that. It's like you got all these people there trying to figure out, wow, I'm having thoughts right now, but I got this knot in my stomach. I don't like this feeling of having a knot in my stomach. I don't like, feeling like something's sitting on my chest where it's difficult to breathe. You know what I mean? It's like, so all I can share with you is, again, just follow these simple steps, is recognize that you're not in a state, an emotional state that you want to be in. See, the fastest thing is just to realize it. Most people don't realize it. They just stay in that state. So for you to say, wow, right now I'm in a emotional state that I don't want to be in. I don't like the way this feels. And then once you can change something that you acknowledged, now what you do is you immediately say to yourself, okay, what can I do? What can I do to change that state? And think about everything's okay, calm and peace. Now, for me, I immediately go into, you guys can go to roberthollis.com/gifts. And when I plug in to listening to Washed by the Word, as soon as I plug in to that audio track, it's amazing. I personally feel a release as soon as I know that I'm going to the playlist. Because there's either a bunch of scriptures that are true or they are not. And because I get to be in my own delusion, you know what I mean? I know that I know how I'm feeling. I know how to resolve this. Then I just immediately go there and I click on them and I listen to them. And because I believe that, you guys do know this, thoughts are things, I believe that that will change my state, and it does. It immediately does. Now, for some of you that are very understanding of this, don't you guys know that, of course, when you stop listening to it, can it possibly come back? The answer is absolutely. Again, that's a thought. As soon as I get done listening to these, then guess what? I got to deal with that all over again, right? And then what you can do is just say, nah, I'm just going to be still. I'm going to choose calmness. I'm going to walk in grace, and I'm going to live in harmony. I'm just going to do the things that I was told to do. And me and my son today, we had this very, very interesting talk because I've never heard this word used this way. And it was the word agency, right? And so the way that Matt sent me this whole concept of agency is that a lot of people live in a scenario where everything that happens in their life is happening because somebody else told them that's what they need to do. It's like we all think that we want to be in control, but bottom line, when it comes to, if you notice this right now, if you're watching any kind of thing on social media or the news, I'm constantly seeing people that are acting in the way that makes no sense to me. And so when you see people acting in a way and doing things that make no sense to you, because that person doesn't have their personal agency, they're turning over their thoughts and their beliefs to other people that are saying, of course you got to be upset by this. Of course you got to do something about this. Of course you got to react in this way. And because people don't trust or haven't built their own state, they allow everyone else's state to sort of move them in whatever direction they want. This might be a word that you guys might have heard of. It's called influencer. So I always say, you've heard the words too of sheeple, right? And it's like when people don't have their own direction, their own belief, or a way that they can, change their state, then immediately, here's the thing that I pray for each and every one of you, and I mean this, is that you will get better, I promise. You'll get better of realizing that you're not in a state of calmness. You're not in a state of being in peace, that you're not in joy, and you'll recognize that you're in the wrong state, a wrong emotion faster than you ever have. And then guess what? You can acknowledge it and go, no, that's not happening today. I remember the first time that I seen that deal, and I don't know when it was the first time. Maybe it'll be funny for me. I'll check AI, and it'll probably end up being out of the Bible, But one of the things is that, there was this saying like, show me the money, by Jerry Maguire, you know what I mean? But it was like, I remember hearing this statement and it was so hilarious to me, where the person said, not today, Satan. It's like, so they felt uneasy, uh, to dive in just a little deeper. Do you guys know where disease comes from? Not being easy, dis-ease. So how many of you would like things to be easy, right? So a lot of us, you get uneasy. It's again just noticing it and immediately figuring out things. Now, the other part that I will say to you guys very, very quickly is when you don't know what to do, that's when you surrender and you become humble. Being humble and being very, very humble is when you're in a position where you're willing to ask for help. And for me personally, I ask that help to God. I'm just like, listen, I'm turning everything over to you. It said, cast all your worries onto me, cast all your thoughts onto me, and you're the master of the plan. So I'm going to be calm and peaceful and full of joy to watch you close the doors that I'm no longer supposed to be in and open the doors that I need to go through. So I know I probably have never talked about this subject because again, I'm trying to figure out the things that are most important in life and then what I do to handle them. That's where the daily wisdoms come from. And so, having a person not be at peace and calm and this too will pass. To feel certainty, to feel security, to know that you're not alone. These are a lot of key things that during the moments when you don't know what's going on, that's where you got to be. And it's amazing, like I told you guys, when you see people be put in stressful situations and they panic, immediately panic. They panic. They panic when they're told about the thing that they need to do. And then what they do on special forces is then they show them. Someone does it. And you can see the panic set in immediately. This is not when you should then think about doing something. How many of you know that in the state of panic, you can't hear anybody, you're not listening to anybody, your whole physicality of your body changes, like Pavlov's dog, you ring the bell and all of a sudden you start, man, I've watched people go in full blown anxiety attacks. You know what I mean? Blackouts because of they haven't trained their mind. Sort of like I said on Sunday, it's like martial arts. It's like it's the whole kind of concept again. Is when something comes for you, or bothers you, that you recognize it, and you just through memory, you just attack it. You see what I mean? You just immediately go, no, like I said, whatever you say. And again, you had those thoughts or whatever it is that you immediately go, oh, I recognize that. No, that's not happening. And then you start speaking words of faith. You start speaking words of calmness and peace and joy, and everything's okay. Stronger is he that is in me than he that's in the world. You just start having these things that you can use as your weapons to stop all of that from happening. So pretty short today. But yeah, we'll label this peace and maybe a couple of words, calm. But just know that each and every one of you, if other people can do it, so can you. Other people can do it, so can you. So I love each and every one of you. I'm going to Oh, that's right. We just leave. Man, when I don't have Craig around. So we'll see you, Coach Bob, Sandy, Kevin, Dana. Thanks again for being on here. Matt and Ezra, Deborah, Michael and Angela, Bill, Melody, Deborah, Lisa Marie, and Mary. I see all you guys jumped on. I love and appreciate you. Have a blessed day.